guys, just want to go over a little bit of what we covered in 1.6. So as a reminder, we do have our vocab words that we learned. There are 4 of them. We have relation, domain, and range, and those can all be found on page 44. And then our last vocab word we had was function. That can be found on page 45. Don't forget that along with function, we learned about the vertical line test. And we're going to talk about that as we go through the notes, but remember that's not a specific vocab word, but it's a method to use to be able to test if something is a function. Now, in your notes, please make sure that you have all of these vocab words in there and that they are defined. You will be able to use your notes when we take our tests and our quizzes, so having those written out and not having to look for them back in the textbook is going to be super important because you are going to be limited with how much time you have on your test. So having them right there in front of you, easy to find, is key. Now, a couple things that we talked about in 1.6 is how to tell if something's not a function. So here's an example in here, and what we have is this mapping diagram. This is what a mapping diagram is. You have your domain and your range. So we have 2, and it's going to A, B, and C. Now, this is an example of not a function because this number 2 is going to multiple values in the range, A, B, and C. So if you were thinking about this on a graph, your domain is your X values. Okay, and we have a domain of 2, so I'm just going to throw that there. This is your range, which are your Y's, and we would have A, B, and C. So if you think about this, this would be plotted dot, dot, and dot. Now thinking back to our vertical line test, okay, this would not pass the vertical line test because if I drew a line right through there, it would hit 3 times. Okay, it cannot hit 3 times, it can only hit once in order for it to pass the vertical line test. Now, versus if we drew for our example number 2, this time you have a domain of A, B, and C, and this time you have a range of 2. So if I were to draw those dots, they would look like that. Okay, and again, if we did the vertical line test on this guy, no matter where I were to draw a line vertically down, just one of them, it would only hit it 1 time, so it would pass the vertical line test. Now, using that same idea with the vertical line test, we have our example right here for number 1. We have domain values. I'm going to put a little D up there so I remind myself, and our range values for our Y. If I made a quick sketch of this, again, nothing fancy, we would have 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. So if we think about our vertical line test, this would totally pass. So this is a function, so yes. Okay, now if we look at example number 2, again drawing just a quick graph so we can visually see what it is. At 1, we're down here at -5. At 2, we're at -4. At 3, we're back down at -5. Oh, and then at 1, we're at -4. So looking at that, I have these 2 dots right here that are on top of each other, meaning if I did a vertical line test, it would hit twice, right there, so it would not pass. So this guy is not a function. All right, last 2 examples, shoe prices. Now, sometimes story problems can be a little bit confusing trying to decide, so I'm going to think again visually. This would be my size of the shoe, and I would have 7, 8, and 9. And we only have one price, so let's see. 35 bucks, 35 bucks, 35 bucks. So if we think about our vertical line test, this would totally pass. So this is a yes. Each shoe size has its own and only one price point. Okay, now number 4, our last one, it says number of items in a grocery cart to the total cost of the items. So they're not actually giving you numbers, they're just having you think about this in a big idea. So if I had a cart with, say, 4 things in it, and maybe I was just buying 4 packs of gum, they could be $4 because it was $1 for each pack of gum. Maybe instead of 4 packs of gum, I have 4 boxes of cereal. So same number of items in the cart, but obviously cereal would be more expensive. Probably be at least, I'd say $10. So thinking about that, could it be a function or is it not a function? Well, it really depends on what's in your cart, but since it is talking about number of items, if you were buying 4 really cheap items versus we have 4 really expensive items, they're going to have different price points. So this guy would not be a function. Nope, not a function. Okay, and there's our lesson for 1.6.